Mark, it's interesting what you said about the Indian market. And were you perhaps insinuating that there could be a speculative unwind there?
I think there definitely will be a correction, but it will not kill the ongoing long-term bull market in India. India is going from strength to strength in so many directions. But as I said, there's a lot of gambling taking place among the younger investors, or let's say younger speculators in India, which we've got to watch very carefully.
That's interesting. So India, quite clearly, Mark, and you know this as well as I do, benefiting from the demographic dividend, but there are cracks in Modi's economic revival, ranging from youth unemployment, crowding in the private sector at a faster pace. That is needed. And it's one of the more expensive markets globally. So where do you stand on the long India, short China debate?
I'm long India, there's no question about that. And I'm beginning to get more and more positive about China because I believe a lot of the negative news in China is beginning to be discounted, fully discounted. And more importantly, I believe a lot of the people who have lost on their properties in India and China, rather, are beginning to realize that they can move on. And so a lot of that has already been discounted in the market. So I think China is beginning to look more positive going forward.
That's interesting. So we can, and you are, pushing back on this China is uninvestable narrative, Mark. Isn't a name like Alibaba a long-term, I'm just using that as an example, but a long-term buy and hold then, given the valuation opportunity there, which stands opposed to India's very expensive market and the secular trends associated with the Chinese consumer that are not going away?
I believe it, yeah. Yeah, I believe a lot of these Indian stocks, unrelated to the government, have a business of their own. They have viable businesses. A lot of them are not tied in with any political problems. And I believe that many of these are global companies operating globally. As you know, TikTok is a good example of that. So I believe at the end of the day, there are going to be a lot of opportunities in those Indian stocks and also Chinese stocks.
Dr. Mobius, does it concern you, though, that at least initial plans for continued privatization of Indian companies, that seems to have slowed, if not stalled?
Yes, this is one of the big challenges I believe the Indian government has. How fast can they move on privatization? For example, the railroads. I think a lot more can be done in that direction. They are moving, but they're moving quite slowly, and more has to be done in that direction.